Hey, what's up guys? Mortarman here with the Next Gamer Network, back again with another video commentary, so sit back and relax while I dazzle you with my amazing voice. This is episode 6 of Army Stories. This one is called the Foxhole Experiment. So this takes place during a 30-day training mission out in the desert with my platoon, and basically how it all begins is with a failed guard duty. And let me just explain a little bit about what guard duty is in the military and how you begin, or how they train you to do guard duty from the beginning. When you're in basic training, everybody pulls guard duty. It's a rotation. So everyone in your platoon or your company or your battalion, whichever, how your unit is set up, wherever you're at, everybody's got to pull guard duty. So we're broke up into platoons in basic training. And they call it fire watch. The reason they call it fire watch is because there's no imminent threat of danger. There's no somebody gonna rush into your barracks with a weapon of some kind, and attack you. So they call it fire watch, basically, like just in case the place was to catch on fire and burn down in the middle of the night, somebody's awake and can get all of you out of there safely. So they call it fire watch. How it works is 2 of you will be chosen to do the guard duty around the clock. So 2 of you would go for an hour, and then you go back to bed, and then 2 other guys would get up and they would do fire watch, and then once their hour is up, then they go to bed, and so on. It rotates like that. So that's fire watch. So they instill that in your mind and get you used to doing fire watch or guard duty all throughout basic training, so that when you get to your unit, you know what fire watch is, you know what guard duty is. So this is long after basic training. Like I said, this is a training mission out in the desert in an undisclosed location. We're going to be there for 30 days doing various training missions. And so, like I said, we always have to do guard duty, right? So when everybody is sleeping, somebody needs to be up. And instead of it being called fire watch, it's called guard duty. And so this is done with a loaded weapon. 2 of you are awake, for a 1 hour or 2 hour shift, whatever they decide you're going to do. Sometimes they'll do a 2-hour shift so that everybody can get more sleep. So anyway, during my guard duty, I actually fell asleep, and that's a big time no-no. And what happened was, I was in my vehicle in the turret hatch on the 50 cal machine gun doing my guard duty, and I'm standing up. It's a standing position, and I'm kind of leaned up against the turret, and I dozed off. I'm not even sure how long. I really don't think it was that long, but it's a very big deal because there is a possible threat of enemies coming around and doing harm to you and your unit while you're on guard duty, so you definitely don't want to be asleep. This was not a dangerous exercise. However, all training missions are treated as if it's real combat. So it is a very serious thing, even though I knew it was not serious. It still should be treated that way. It's kind of like the loaded gun thing. All guns should be treated as if they're loaded. So I think that's a fair comparison. So anyway, I'm doing my guard duty, and I ended up dozing off, and I don't even remember who caught me sleeping, but someone higher up than me, either my squad leader or my section sergeant, caught me sleeping. And so I continued to do my guard duty the rest of the time, till my shift is over. And there was another guy that was also doing guard duty, and at that particular time. Now later on in the night, while my shift was over and I was sleeping, well, some other guys were doing guard duty, and apparently one of those guys also dozed off during his guard duty. Unfortunately, it's a common occurrence. People do fall asleep when they're on guard duty, and it's a very dangerous and serious thing for people to do that, but you're so sleep deprived while you're in the military doing training missions or combat missions, you are sleep deprived. A lot of times you're you have insufficient sleep, and oftentimes you can even be hungry as well. So anyway, I doze off during my guard duty, and another guy dozes off during his guard duty. And I know that the punishment is coming. I don't know exactly when, but I know the punishment is coming. I know that I'm going to be in trouble because when you do something wrong in the military, there is always consequences. Many times it's mass punishment where they punish everybody for it. But in this particular case, they ended up just punishing me and the other guy who fell asleep during his guard duty shift. So this is where it gets interesting. The next day, everybody's up and we're working, we're doing our jobs, you know, we're doing our thing. And the section sergeant comes over and says, "Hey, I got a job for you and Weisman." Weisman is the other guy who got in trouble. And so they get us and they take us to the top of this hill. And we're standing up there, and he goes, he says, "I want you guys to bring your rucksacks, bring your weapon." Of course, we don't go anywhere without our weapons, but they said, bring your shit, meet us up on the hill. So I get up there, and my platoon sergeant's standing up on the top of the hill as well. And so they're kind of laughing, you know, as they're telling us this, but said, "Okay, so you guys, both of you happen to fall asleep during your guard duty shift." And we're like, "Yes, Sergeant, that's true, you know." And he's like, "Okay, well, this is what's going to happen. You guys are going to dig me a foxhole on the top of this hill." And we're just like, "Okay, we can handle that." And of course, we didn't have a choice, anyways, right? And so he says, "But here's the deal. The protocol for this particular foxhole is going to be 2 M16s long and 1 M16 wide." And it's got to be as deep as the tallest man. Well, guys, here's the bad news. Weisman happens to be 6'6". That's right, he's 6'6". He is a tall motherfucker. So this foxhole's got to be 2 M16s long, 1 M16 wide, and it's got to be as deep as Weisman is tall. So needless to say, this is one big ass fucking foxhole. We don't call it a foxhole in the Army. We actually call it a defensive position or a fighting position. We don't really call it a foxhole, but the reason I'm calling it a foxhole in this video is because that is the layman term. That's what most people know what a foxhole is. Most people don't know what a fighting position is. So that's why I'm calling it a foxhole. Anyway, so we got to dig this big ass foxhole. And we're in the desert, like I mentioned before, and it is all rock, basically. It's rock and hard dirt, like clay and shit. So it's like really, really hard ground. And we don't have some high-tech, fancy shovel that you buy at Home Depot or at a hardware store. We've got a little bitty, swivel-handled, foldable or collapsible shovel that they issue you in the Army. It's a little bitty-ass fucking shovel. It's not a big shovel, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, it's only like 2 feet long. If I can find a picture of it on the internet, I'll put it in the video. But I don't know if I can find a picture of it or not. But it's a piece of shit shovel, to be honest with you. So anyway, we commenced digging, and it takes us like freaking 8 hours to dig this fucking hole. And it's a big ass hole, you know. I mean, 6'6" deep. I mean, I think that's deeper than a grave. To be honest, but yeah, so this was the punishment that they gave us for falling asleep during guard duty. And there's another little side story to this. Before this happened, before me and Weisman got caught sleeping on guard duty, my squad leader, who is a sergeant at the time, he actually got caught he fell asleep on his guard duty, but he didn't actually just fall asleep. That fool went to bed during his guard duty. He actually took his weapon. No, he took his broom. He took a broom and his Kevlar helmet and his one of his BDU blouses, his tops or shirts or whatever, and actually made it look like a person standing up in the turret on the vehicle to make it look like someone was standing guard duty. And that fool actually went to bed. So when his shift was over, somebody went to go and get him to tell him that his shift was over and that they were ready to assume guard duty, and he wasn't there. It was some fake piece of crap that he put together to look like a person standing there doing guard duty. So he had also he got in trouble also for doing this. This happened, I don't know, maybe a week or so before we fell asleep during our guard duty. I don't remember what punishment he got. Because he's a sergeant and everything, his punishment was probably a lot different than what we would get. Not that I'm not implying that it wasn't serious, but they usually punish them differently when they're higher rank like that. So anyway, we got to dig a big ass foxhole, and when we were finished, like 8 hours later, of course, we had to fill it back up. And you know, you ask yourself, where did all that fucking dirt go that came out of this hole? Because I sure can't find it. You know, because it's never fails when you dig a hole and you want to try to fill it back up, you can't find all the dirt that came out of the hole. So we literally had to scrape and dig dirt around the exterior of the foxhole to try to find enough dirt to put back in the hole. And it was really, really hot there. It was like 110, 115 degrees. You know, so we were filthy and dirty, covered in sand. You know, the wind blows a lot out in the desert, and you're sweaty, and the sand is sticking to you, and it's in crevices and shit that you can't get to. Pretty nasty ordeal. But, you know, it was miserable, but we were kind of laughing and joking about it while we were doing it, because it was still kind of funny. And every now and then our, you know, sergeant would come up there and poke fun at us and make jokes and shit like that and make us laugh. We had a pretty cool platoon sergeant. He was a pretty cool dude. He'd been in the Army like 20 years. And, you know, when we're out with your platoon, it's kind of a more of a laid-back atmosphere. You know, it's not as strict as it is when you're back at the rear, or, you know, if you're back in the garrison area back home, you know, at your base. But, you know, needless to say, if you do something wrong or you get in trouble, well, you're still going to get punished. You know, the only difference is they kind of laugh about it instead of yell and scream at you. So yeah, for the rest of my life, I'll never forget what it was like to dig that foxhole with a guy who was 6'6". And that's really tall. For you guys in Europe, I don't know how you guys measure height or whatever over there, but that's a tall dude. That's like a freaking basketball player. So anyway, that's all I got for this story. But I do have another one that I'm going to try to go ahead and make tonight, and I'll probably upload it in a couple of days. It's a really good one. It's a little bit longer, and so it's a real good story. But as always, guys, I want to thank you for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed my commentary and my gameplay. This is Mortarman with the Next Gamer Network. Remember to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, do all that good stuff. As always, thank you for watching, and have a great day. Peace.